Nairobi is set to hold Coast-Continental Convention on Diagnostics beginning this Tuesday all the way through Friday. That will bring together policy experts as well as experts in the health sector to foster conversations on proper diagnostics and antimicrobial resistance surveillance. That is what forms the basis of our conversation this afternoon. You're on KBC Lunchtime News. I'm Doreen Arange. Lucy Maura is our sign language interpreter. And our residents of Merile in Banisa sub-county have agreed to uphold peace and cohesion in the area following months of tension between the Gare and the Godia communities. At a peace meeting organized by area administrative officers, residents said the tension was attributed to competition over scarce resources such as grazing routes and water points, weak coordination among local peace structures, and limited awareness of peace arrangements. However, they agreed to promote reconciliation, address unresolved grievances, and reinforce cooperation between the communities and the authorities.
Tunajua kwamba hii ni sehemu ambayo ni ya malisho kwa wafugaji wetu, na mara kwa mara wanakutana sehemu hii wakiwa katika malisho. Lakini hivi karibuni kumetokea visa kadhaa ambavyo vimelete taharuki kati ya wafugaji wetu, kati ya jamii ya Degodia na Gare. Kwa hivyo leo tulikuja kuhakikishia kwamba kuna usalama wa kutosha.
Our signal today is to inform all the villagers that peace building is a responsibility for each and every citizen of this country, that unless we work in collaboration with each other, we will not be success. And we're going to reach all the villages to make sure that the villagers now know each other, communicate to each other, and share early warning and early responses in their respective areas.
The government is on the spot of failing to curb rising online gender-based violence, with reports showing increased cases and over 100 women killed in 2024 in incidents linked to online crime. Women's rights groups led by Inform Action are urging the government to set up digital investigation units in all counties to fast-track probes into hacking, harassment and threats. Statistics indicate that 1 in 3 women face physical or sexual violence as offenders hide behind fake accounts and legal loopholes. Activists say poor investments in tools and training delays justice have faulted slow disbursement of GBV prevention funds, leaving most of the burden to civil society and communities.
We also call on technology companies to strengthen and simplify reporting mechanisms. Of course, they have reporting mechanisms that are a bit cumbersome, too long. So if they simplify this reporting mechanism, we believe that more cases will be reported and we'll see who exactly are the perpetrators behind all these technology-facilitated gender-based violence.
We are tired of hearing kila kukicha mtu ameuliwa, kila kukicha mtoto amenajisiwa, kila kukicha online mambo yanaendelea ambao hatuelewi. Na narudi tena kusema, the government has capacity, has the finance, has the manpower.
If we have to cross over every other time for lawyers, for the people along the judicial system to just cross over for evidence, it tells you that we have a long way to go.
More than 3,000 families from Marachi Estate in Busia Town have received food and non-food items from the Office of the Principal Administrative Secretary, Arthur Osea. The donations included 300 bags of rice and 200 bags of beans. The consignment is expected to go a long way in feeding orphans and widows in the area.
Ningeimiza Wakenya wote tuwe na mioyo ya kusaidia. Wewe unapokuwa unaandaa sherehe na una chakula, yani chakula kingi, na Mungu amekubariki kwa kweli, unajua kwamba Mungu amekubariki. Ni vizuri kuweza kushiriki na wale wahitaji.
Tulipata chakula kutoka kwa serikali tukipitia kwa mheshimiwa hasa Osia ambaye aliweza kutusaidia chakula ingawacho kitoke pale juu, because hapa Burumba tuko na vulnerable families nyingi sana, pamoja na makanisa vile mmesikia pastor akisema, mama Agogo akisema kwamba wanasaidia maskini wengi, wanasaidia watoto orphanages na widows wengi.
A leadership standoff is deepening within the Anglican Church of Kenya, Kapenguria Diocese, where a section of West Pokot SCK church leaders and members are now protesting what they term as open defiance of court orders in the ongoing process of electing a new bishop. The disgruntled group, led by Elder Jackson Kakuko, claims secretive and irregular annual general meeting elections were conducted without involving all 26 parishes, allegedly forwarding names as if elected, a move they say violates the church constitution. They also accuse Bishop Simon Onyango, who was sent to oversee the transition, of taking sides, revoking pastors' licenses and fueling divisions that have split the church into two. They're now calling on the Anglican Council and the SCK national leadership to urgently intervene and restore order. Bishop Onyango, however, maintains he is focused on keeping church operations running and preserving unity in the diocese.
Mwenye alitumwa hapa, ambaye alitumwa hapa na Archbishop Jackson Ole Sapit, na alikuwa appointed kama commissary kuingia Kapenguria Diocese. Yeye amefanya mambo ambayo si mazuri hata kidogo kikanisa. Kwa sababu moja ni kwamba alifanya uchaguzi kwa siri kwa local church council na vile vile parishes.
Unitas Circle, working with cycling group Critical Mass Nairobi, has held a major children's cycling event at the Children's Park in Nairobi. The initiative, known as the Total Mass Kids Day Out, drew hundreds of young riders, parents and cycling supporters with a strong focus on child safety, wellness and financial learning.
The whole idea is to encourage savings and at the same time create fun while they are banking. As an institution, we are very keen on all the stages of a human being's life. So we have accounts that work out for anybody or for everybody, from the period when you are born to when you are a toddler, when you are a teenager, once you start working, as you plan for retirement, and lastly, even post-retirement.
We normally do monthly rides for kids. We want to create awareness on the roads and inform the motorists that also the kids have a right on the road. So today we are partnered with Unitas. So we are here to create awareness and to call on to people, cyclists, parents, and all motorists that we need to be on the road.
And Kenya has signed bilateral agreements with Malaysia to remove tariff and non-tariff barriers aimed at expanding trade and investments between the two nations, especially on agricultural products such as tea, avocado and beef. In a joint press briefing, President William Ruto and Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim said the two nations are also seeking to smooth air travel and also collaborate in manufacturing. Anwar, who received full military honors at the State House, is in Kenya for a two-day official visit.
As we rise, we draw inspiration from nations like yours that embraced bold ambition over limitation and chose excellence instead of mediocrity. Kenya now stands ready to take its place among nations that we started with, like your own nation. It is really a proud moment for me as I engage with you, because you bring home the many things that we have been discussing as a country as to the possibilities of what can be achieved if the right decisions are made, if we don't compromise, if we don't settle for the average, if we eliminate mediocrity, and we make the decisions that will take our country forward.
We have seen, under your stewardship, the determination to propel not only the economy but the infrastructure, and to ensure that Kenya emerge as a great nation. I mean, you've been extremely humble in your remarks. I've seen the potential. I've seen the enormous strides you have made in the housing sector, for example, which is most commendable. I don't think many countries, including Malaysia, has embarked that fast and that effective because your passion to provide housing for the people, particularly the poor from Kenya. So congratulations, Mr. President.
A group of youth in Juja, Kiambu County, has taken upon themselves to mobilize locals to register as voters ahead of the 2027 general elections. The group claims it was so disappointing to note that locals were shunning the ongoing voter registration exercise, only to lament later about bad leadership. They encourage residents to take advantage of the remaining registration period and visit the nearest registration centers if they want to make their voices heard in the 2027 general elections.
Today we are here at a place called Darashan, here for the purpose of asking, compelling, or even requesting our youths, our electorate, to go and pick and collect their votes. We do ask the IEBC. We have been in connection with them, actually asked them to facilitate and bring those services closer to the people.
Hii ndio first time yangu kuvote 2027. Tunataka kuvote watu wenye wanatupromote kikazi, watu wazuri, watu wenye wanasikiza wananchi kenye wanataka.
I'm here to confirm kura tutapiga na we are ready kupiga kura. Kenya tu tunaomba tafadhalini, bring services closer to us. Leteni hata kani vibanda, hata kani chini ya miti. Leteni hizo desk zenu hapa hivi, tutachukua kura.
In Isiolo County, an ungovernmental organization has installed a 4.3 million shilling solar plant in Kambia Ju water treatment plant in that county to help cut electricity costs and improve water supply for Bulapesa residents. The Sustainable Access to Safe Water initiative says the project is being implemented under the Kenya Rapid Plus program with the Isiolo County government and Millennium Water Alliance, and will replace costly grid power with solar energy for pumping water. Isiolo County Executive Committee member for Water and Sanitation Guracha Sarita says Isiolo Water and Sewerage Company monthly electricity bill has dropped from 600,000 shillings to about 200,000 shillings thanks to the solar plant, and has helped reduce water rationing. Catholic Relief Services Project Officer Timothy Ngure says the upgrade follows findings that relying on the electricity caused major financial losses, adding the direct chlorinian and measures to curb illegal connections have been introduced.
This reduction will make this project sustainable by maintaining the water kiosk, the pump houses, and also maintains and replace the worn-out pipes. And therefore, again, the time for water supply has been increased from initially a limited time to a long period. That means that the community now can get adequate amount of water within this long period of time.
Introduce smart water metering, kama hapa tumeweka 2 meters ambazo zinasaidia Iwasco kujua ni maji gani inapampiwa kwa communities, na the difference wanaweza jua kama maji yote inaenda kwa intended beneficiaries ama kuna ingine yenye inapotelea.
Secretaries from various ministries have come out strongly to defend the government's development track record. The over 10 principal secretaries led by Basic Education PS Julius Bitok, who are in Kilgoris, Narok County, said no part of the country will be left behind, and the current administration is delivering on its manifesto. Bitok said the country has made significant progress in the education sector, ranging from the rollout of competency-based curriculum to strengthening higher education institutions and recruiting more teachers across the country. Finance Permanent Principal Secretary Chris Kipto highlighted improvements in the economy, saying the cost of living has eased compared to when President Ruto assumed office.
Mambo ya elimu yanaendelea vizuri na Mheshimiwa Rais amejitolea sana ili atengeneze maneno ya elimu katika taifa la Kenya. Ndiposa mnasikia pesa chungu nzima imewekwa. Tuko sasa 700 billion. Ruto alipochukua juzi ilikuwa 500 billion. Sasa we are at 700 billion budget every year. Na inaendelea kuongezeka.
Hata lita moja ya petroli ilikuwa zaidi ya 220 na kitu. Leo imeteremka mpaka 100 na karibu 80 na kitu. Hata kilo moja ya sukari ilikuwa 220. Leo iko karibu 180 na kitu. Generally yote tukiangalia tunaita inflation. Na hiyo inflation ilikuwa 9.6 October 2022, leo iko 4.6.
Kila mwezi ile pesa ya Inua Jamii inakuja hapa ni milioni 50 kila mwezi. Ukipiga mara na 12 utapata idadi gani tunaacha hapa katika huo mradi wa Inua Jamii.
Several women from Ematere Friends Church in Lirambi constituency, Kakamega County, have received a major economic boost through a poultry project supported by a group of staff from Rongo and Tharaka-Nithi universities. Speaking during the handover of 3-month-old chicks to the beneficiaries, the staff led by Dr. Ann Mungalavai said the initiative aims to improve the living standards of residents, mainly women who shoulder the burden of caring for their homes. Church leaders lauded the support, terming the initiative timely.
And around here, we are having a problem of buying chicken or getting chicken. We hope to improve our economic status. We hope to be able to improve our status in the sense that we can be able to buy food for ourselves. We can be able to do the things that we are supposed to do in our day-to-day life.
Because once we are started off, I'm sure we will not let those who have made this program come true, will not let them down.
Si mara ya kwanza wanatufanyia haya maneno. Kila Christmas, December huwa wanatufanyia kitu. Huu mwaka wametuletea vifaranga. Sisi kama wamama wa Ematere Church and the community, we are really thankful.
We also need economic empowerment. We want our members to be economically empowered. Kwa sababu mama akiwa na pesa mfukoni, then the rest of the family and the country is economically empowered.
In Kilifi County, residents of Magarini constituency are pleading with leaders to respect the laws and procedures guiding the voting process ahead of the by-elections. The residents are urging politicians to avoid sowing divisions and work to unite the people. 10 candidates are expected to compete in this by-elections, while the ODM and DCP parties remain in a standoff.
Mimi ujumbe wangu kwa viongozi ni kwamba wacha tukaweze kuweka amani katika hii by election. Manake zaidi ya yote kuna maisha baada ya by election. Mengine wacha yawe yatatokea 2027. Lakini kwa huu wakati concentration yetu ni tarehe 27 mwezi wa 11 mwaka ni huu wa 2025. Amani idumishwe Magarini sote kwa pamoja ili tuweze kuwa na maisha ya baadaye.
Kwa hivyo kama watu wako hapa kwa siasa, ninawapa pole sana. Hii si wakati wa siasa, hii ni wakati wa kumpitisha Harikombe na tuendelee kufanya miradi ile ambayo Harikombe alibakisha, na tungoje hiyo 2027. Kila mtu sasa hapo ndo atajua mahali pa kwenda ni wapi.
Chaos erupted in Kabunde along Homa Bay Rongo Road after a group of armed youth disrupted a meeting of the Nyadarak Forum, a group of professionals from Homa Bay sub-county. The youth started throwing stones at the attendees, forcing them to flee for safety after some speakers accused Homa Bay Town MP Peter Kaluma of poor leadership. For this and more stories in our county news roundup. All right, you're working on that particular story coming by you in a short while. But moving on, the National Assembly Departmental Committee on Lands is demanding action against the Agriculture Development Corporation after senior management failed to appear before MPs over the contested 250,000-acre Galana Kulalu land in Tana River and Kilifi counties. Residents accuse the Agricultural Development Corporation of harassment and refusing to release the 250,000 acres promised under President Kibaki's directive. MPs now want full accountability. The committee has given the officials 7 days to appear before it and answer all the queries raised.
250,000 ile ya Kibaki, si ndio? Hiyo nafikiri Nyandoro kupitia ukamati, hiyo ni kitu inatakikana wale wanahitajika itekelezwe kwa haraka sana.
Nyinyi kama komiti tunaomba sana mkaweze kuhakikisha kwamba zile sehemu ambazo wananchi wanakaa, zile sehemu ambazo ziko na title, nyumba, mashamba, shule, misikiti na hata business ambazo tunazifanya, tafadhali tunaomba serikali ikaweze kuachilia hizo sehemu ili wananchi wagawiwe wapate title deed na sisi tukae kama wanaamini.
21 minutes past the top of the hour, due for our first break. We circle back with more, including that discussion. Stay with us.
Let me explain.
I don't need to hear your explanations. You and my sister are both disgusting.
Hey, Lucia, please don't go. Listen to me.
With your filthy hands.
Lucia, wait. Can't you understand that she doesn't want to talk to you? I don't have any reason to claim a child that isn't even mine.
Why didn't you tell me that you're friends with Ricardo Marquez?
What? But he wasn't my friend.
Why did you do this to me, Nor?
I did that because I couldn't stand the idea of you being happy. Because I wanted to see you suffer.
How could you do that to your own sister?
Alonzo, you hurt her.
Get out of here.
Got the fear of missing out? Want to keep up with all the latest entertainment news and latest celebrity gossip? From the latest rumors to popping events to the newest fashion trends, here is where you get all the tea or juice when it comes to entertainment, and you get it served on time. All that and so much more on Grapevine every single Monday only on KBC Channel 1. Remember, if you did not see it on Grapevine, then it most probably never happened.
All right, welcome to this live broadcast. Time for our conversation right now, where we center it around issues to do with antimicrobial resistance. My guest is already here. That is Ngobile Ndlovu, who is the CEO, Africa Society for Laboratory Medicines. Did I first pronounce that name correctly?
Thank you. It is.
All right. So let's just quickly get into this discussion. And first of all, begin by understanding what is this antimicrobials? What are they? Are they same as antibiotics? What exactly is this?
So when we are talking about antimicrobial resistance, we are talking about organisms that are developing resistance to the available drugs and treatment. So over time, what happens, be it viruses, be it bacteria, be it what we call parasites, be it what we call bacteria and other microorganisms. So over time, because people are using antibiotics recklessly, they develop resistance. And that is a big global public health threat, because the available medications and drugs that we have are not able to work next time people go to the hospitals for treatment. And it's becoming a problem because the current statistics are showing us that around 200 people are dying every day because of microorganisms that are not treatable anymore.
This is 200 people every day in Kenya, globally?
It's globally.
Globally.
Yeah.
So this accounts to about, what, 700,000?
Yes.
Annually.
Yes.
Now, with just what you're saying and looking at that figure as is, what is the projection like? Is this number perhaps, does it portend to increase, reduce, stay the same? What does data say?
So according to the 2019 statistic, around 1.3 million deaths were attributed to antimicrobial resistance. And the unfortunate part is that Africa is bearing the greatest burden on mortality. Around 27 persons are dying per 100,000, which is a big contribution that is coming just from Africa. So when we are talking about the problem of antimicrobial resistance, we are not talking about something that is in the future. It is already in Africa, and Africa is already paying the price. And as a continent, we really need to take action and begin to pay attention to the issues that are coming with antimicrobial resistance. So when you're looking at some projections, it is projected that if we don't do anything about antimicrobial resistance, by 2050, around 10 million people are going to die due to antimicrobial resistance. So that is the mortality, but also it has got health cost implications. So if you are looking at the health costs, we are looking at $1 trillion of additional health costs that are going to be incurred if we don't do anything about antimicrobial resistance. Talk about global production loss. It is estimated to be like $100 trillion by 2050 if we don't do anything now in terms of antimicrobial resistance. So it's a big challenge. It's a growing global public health threat that we need to address, and we need to address it now.
So the ripple effect is quite huge.
It is.
But then again, help us understand, why is Africa bearing the biggest brunt of this? I'm so sure we are not only the ones who take these antibiotics in excess, but why is it so Africa?
One of the greatest challenges we are facing in Africa is not understanding what we are dealing with. And by that is we have poor surveillance systems. We don't know what are those organisms that are circulating in our populations and which drugs are working and which ones are not working. So we have poor surveillance systems. We have poor laboratory diagnostic systems. We also have the tendency of people just taking drugs without treatment. So that has exacerbated the situation and the challenge. But the good news is that we, as the African Society for Laboratory Medicine, ASLM, working with our partners, the Fleming Fund, UK, we have managed to collect information and data to understand the burden of antimicrobial resistance in the continent. So we do have an Africa data in terms of what are we dealing with and where are the gaps and where are the challenges. So that is the good news.
Yeah.
And the good news also is that AU has stepped up and is now taking the leadership. We have what is called the AU Landmark Report that was presented in the United Nations General Assembly. And this report really expressed the political commitment of member states in Africa. It also understood the burden of antimicrobial resistance. And also it expressed the experiences of the African countries in terms of MR, and also called for agents in terms of addressing and financing. So this is a situation, this is a challenge that as a continent, and under the leadership of AU, under the leadership of Africa CDC, the member states are coming together to express and begin to draw agency in terms of coming up with targeted interventions and addressing antimicrobial resistance.
Okay, so the reason as to why Africa is one of the continents bearing the biggest brunt according to what you're also saying, is part of it is poor diagnostics. Is that the reason why we also will be having this convention that is beginning tomorrow? Does it feed into that?
Exactly that. So I want to appreciate the government of the Ministry of Health, Kenya, for really co-hosting this 3-day meeting. And this meeting is going to be focusing on accelerating diagnostic innovation and collaboration to combat AMR and advance health security in Africa. So this is a 3-day meeting, and our main goal is really to showcase what are these diagnostic tools that we need to combat AMR. What are these testing machines? What are the innovations that we need so that we can have good intelligence? We can understand these microorganisms as they are resisting some of the available drugs that we have. So we want to do that. Secondly, in this meeting, we want to advance our collaboration. So when we are talking about antimicrobial resistance, it's not a human health issue. It is also animal health because they use antibiotics.
Yeah.
It's also an environmental issue. So we are saying, let's come together as sectors. Let's have targeted interventions. But this collaboration is going beyond just some interventions. Let's also have sustainable financing. We are experiencing a shift in global financing landscape. So as a continent, as member states, we need to begin to take ownership in terms of addressing our issues. Let's come up with innovative financing mechanisms to sustain some of the gains that we have achieved so far. Like I said, through the funding of Fleming Fund UK, we have made some improvement, we have made some gains, which include improving surveillance so that we have got good intelligence to understand what are these bugs that are in our populations. We have conducted trainings, we have conducted data improvement in terms of collecting, and also developing the laboratory infrastructure. So we have a starting point, we have gains, and we have to maintain those gains. So we are saying, let's come together. How can we sustain what we have done so well so far?
Let me stick on that maintaining of gains, because I know that oftentimes, especially when you talk about Kenya and by extension Africa, the question of funding always comes to the fore. It's one thing to achieve, but then maintaining it because of funding always poses a challenge. Yeah. What does the future look like in regards to that?
So there are two things. I think number one, as the African Society for Laboratory Medicine, ASLM, we want to make a call to the governments, which is now a continental discussion to say, as Africa, we need to fund our own solutions. So we are making a call to governments to put in their domestic resources. Make AMR, make diagnostics integral part of your health security plans. We cannot deal with what we don't know. And diagnostics are the foundation. They are the center of understanding what are the problems we have. So that is the first call. The second call also is to our friends, to our donors. We are saying, let's shift from investing in short-term programs. Let's begin to invest in sustainable, long-term systems. We want to be able to sustain the systems ourselves even after the funding has gone. So there has to be that collaboration to say, what are the priorities of Africa? What are the foundational issues we need to invest in so that as governments we can take up and sustain that? So those are the conversations that are happening now at continental level.
I really hope the leaders can hear, because with the numbers as they are and how the projection looks like, if nothing is done, then we are really in a bad state as a continent. But also, there's antifungal for fungus, there's antivirals for the virals like the flu and the likes. But there's just a tendency of concern being around antibiotics. All these antis, but antibiotics. What is so peculiar about antibiotics?
Well, I'll answer you in a holistic way. So when we are talking about antimicrobials, we are including antivirals, antifungals, antibiotics.
Okay.
But the general tendency that we have seen in our communities is that people really are taking more of the antibiotics. For example, during flu, people just go to the pharmacies and they get antibiotics. You cannot treat a viral infection using antibiotics. So our call is that communities have to be aware. the clinics, the doctors, the nurses, the practitioners. We need to take stewardship over the limited drugs that are available for the continent. If we lose their effectiveness, the second line of drugs are very expensive, and that is going to be costly. So it is really changing our behavior. It is also enforcing regulations in terms of what drugs to be used at what level.
So with this sensitization, what else are you picking? Because sometimes there's the case of even health practitioners. For instance, a mother will go to a facility with a child, they want drug X because of a flu or something, but then even the health practitioner will be the first one to say, get this antibiotic, it will be quick, in easing that pain or whatever it is that they're going through. So really, who are at the front line in this? Is it just the individual or also health practitioners? What are you picking?
I think it comes back to the investment that we are calling for as ASLM. Let's invest in diagnostics.
Okay.
Sometimes at a lower level where the diagnostics are not accessible, there is that tendency to then prescribe because there is no test available to help the clinician to understand what they are dealing with. So they tend to prescribe, broad spectrum antibiotics to try and help the patient. It is because we are not investing in diagnostics. So diagnostics are at different levels. There are diagnostics we can use at community level. Point of care that can quickly turn around the result, and the doctor is informed in terms of what exactly to prescribe. So if we are to make bold decisions moving forward to address the antimicrobial resistance issue, we have to work together. Those that are seeing the patients at policy level, at investment level, so that we are not assuming anymore moving forward, but we are precise. We know what we are dealing with. We only use the drugs when we know we are dealing with a certain microorganism.
So then also this just again boils down back to proper diagnostics. All right, then help us also understand what are the dangers of, long-term dangers, I should say, of self-medicating. It's sort of common with, I don't know if it's us Africans or it's across board, but really what are the dangers, long-term dangers of this?
So the long-term dangers, coming back to what we are talking about and why we are here in this meeting, is we are going to have drugs that can no longer work when you show up in a hospital. When you talk about antimicrobial resistance, it's a very silent pandemic. It's not so obvious like COVID, these pandemics. But it is slowly eroding all the investments that has taken decades. Talk about the discovery of drugs. Next time that same drug is not going to be effective. Then if you go to the second line or the other drugs that are reserved for last line, those are very expensive and we cannot afford it. Our communities cannot afford it. So we want to preserve what works and what is affordable. So we have to come together as a community, realizing the danger that we are going to die from things that are preventable. Some of the deaths that are happening, the 200,000 I was talking about happening every day, those are preventable. But we have lost the effectiveness of those drugs. So let's preserve the drugs that are there to protect us. Let's use them when they are needed. So it is a call to the pharmacist, to the prescribing doctors and nurses, to everyone, the industry partners, to say, let's come together. Even the community. We are calling for the community to participate, to desist from just, going across to the pharmacy or even sharing drugs, or even, strengthening the enforcement of our regulations so that it's very difficult to get a drug if you don't have a test, if it is not prescribed by the doctor. So at the center of all, we need diagnostics.
I hear you. And now as we wind down in less than a minute, so an individual who is now antimicrobial resistant, someone who's now resistant, let's just say they are, what is the next line of action for such an individual? Are they just left to die until perhaps research is developed? What really happens to them? They've taken the line one, nothing is working for them literally. What happens to this individual?
Well, we have had cases of what we call, extreme drug resistance. for example, TB.
Yeah.
It is already happening. So of course, research is very important and is continuing to come up with new tools, new drugs to deal with these extremely resistant microorganisms. So there is still hope because research is still going on. And we still do have drugs that can help those, but we try to contain that particular microorganism. So if we do have good surveillance, then we know it is already starting to be circulating in the population, and we can save many people that can get that particular drug, and it will cost us a lot.
So in the interim, they can still be alive as research continues to be developed?
They can still be alive.
That's what I really wanted to know, because with the data, just trying to see, for those who are now resistant, what happens to them even as this continues. Nonetheless, thank you so much, sir, for your helpful insights, and wish you the very best in this convention as it begins tomorrow all the way through Friday.
Thank you.
That has been Koliben Ndlovu, CEO, Africa's Society for Laboratory Medicines, just conversing around antimicrobial resistance and what it portends for Kenya and by extension Africa in the near future. Now we continue with the day's stories, and back to that earlier stories on news making headlines around the counties as that chaos erupted in Kabunde along Homa Bay Rongo Road after a group of armed youth disrupted a meeting of the Nyandaralek Forum, a group of professionals from Homa Bay sub-county. The youth started throwing stones at the attendees, forcing them to flee for safety after some speakers accused Homa Bay Town MP Peter Kaluma of poor leadership. This and more stories in the County News Roundup.
Chaotic scenes were witnessed in Kabunde along Homa Bay Rongo Road after a group of armed youth disrupted a meeting of the Nyandaralek Forum, a group of professionals from Homa Bay sub-county. The youth started throwing stones at the attendees, forcing them to flee for safety after some speakers accused Homa Bay Town MP Peter Kaluma of poor leadership. Elsewhere, Education Cabinet Secretary Migos Ogamba is expected to preside over the Malaysia Africa Higher Education Forum 2025 on Monday in Nairobi. The CS will preside over the event alongside Malaysian Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim. Speaking during the opening session on Sunday, the Secretary General of the Malaysian Ministry of Higher Education, Datuk Kanesi bin Ibrahim, noted that the forum has attracted more than 400 visitors and participants.
Having this exhibition and the forum here in Kenya remind us that Malaysia and African countries share strong bilateral relationships, and that our higher education institutions pursue common goals, especially in terms of quality, accessibility, and cross-border cooperation.
In Meru County, 50 youths have graduated and given business startup equipment following a training program in various courses sponsored by a non-governmental organization operating in the area.
This program that we are having, over 50 graduates graduating today, is meant to give them some sort of empowerment so that they're able to not only change their life, but also the life of the entire community. Also, these youth that we are graduating today are going to be like a reflection of what our community can change as a result of small interventions that can be done by each one of us.
Wameweza kunipeleka kwenye nafasi ya kuweza kupata equipment ambazo zitakuwa zinanisaidia kwenye kazi yangu ambayo nitaenda kufungua, ambayo itanifanya sitakuwa na kurely kwa wazazi wangu.
Hii empowerment imekuwa imenisaidia sana pamoja na rafiki zangu. Tumeweza, na tukipewa vitu tutaenda tuanze biashara na iweze kutusaidia maishani.
Women from Ematere Friends Church have received a major economic boost following the launch of a poultry project supported by staff from Rongo University and Tharaka Nithi University during the handover of 3-month-old chicks to the beneficiaries. Dr. Anne Mungalavai said the initiative is aimed at improving the living standards of residents and reflects the university's commitment to giving back to the community. Time for some business news now, and Kenya Power is rolling out a new meter reading system targeting its 1.8 million postpaid customers after piloting it in Nairobi in March this year. The new postpaid meter reading system eliminates the need for manual typing of meter numbers and readings, instead allowing for the scanning of meter displays to facilitate processing of meter readings.
Recognition, or OCR, allow members readers to scan meter display inside of typing numbers manually, a process the company say will significantly cut down on errors and speed up monthly billing. The new postpaid meter reading system, known as optical character recognition, or OCR, allow members readers to scan meter display inside of typing numbers manually, a process the company say will significantly cut down on errors and speed up monthly billing. The new postpaid meter reading system, known as optical character recognition, or OCR, allow members readers to scan meter display inside of typing numbers manually, a process the company say will significantly cut down on errors and speed up monthly billing. The rollout target of a 1.8 million postpaid meter that still require physical reading every month.
We have 1.9 million meters that we read every month, so we have to go out there, pick the reading, and then use that to produce the bill. The other 8.2 million meters are either the token one that I've talked about, where the customers buy the token, and we have another 300,000 where we are able to read remotely, so we don't have to go there physically to pick the meter.
Kenya Power says their technology will also help reduce billing complaints and improve customer experience, complementing existing digital tools which already allow customers to submit their own reading.
We have been looking at how do we make it better, and not just better, how do we make it accurate? So we are moving towards what we call the smart metering, which enables us to remotely interrogate or be able to see or to pick any information that we need from the meter.
In addition, Kenya Power is deploying smart meter for large users, SMEs and selected household, allowing for remote reading and remote disconnection or reconnection.
We have developed OCR for meter reading that will be able to eliminate what we call the human errors, and apart from eliminating the human errors, also reduce on the time taken to read the meters on site.
Felix Q for Lunchtime News.
Consolidated Bank Group has bounced back to profitability after reporting a net profit 80.2 million shillings for the first 9 months of 2025, which is a turnaround of 160.8% from the loss of 131.92 million shillings the lender recorded during a similar period in 2024. The profit was mainly driven by higher net interest income.
Net loans and advances reduced 2% from 8.5 billion shillings to 8.3 billion shillings. This was perhaps due to 9.2% increase in gross non-performing loans to 3.78 billion shillings. From the net loans and advances, Consolidated Bank netted 1.48 billion shilling in total interest income, which was up 10.6%. This was mainly supported by a 54.2% increase in interest income on government securities to 583.03 million shillings, which was offset a reduction in interest income on loans and advances from 968.7 million shillings to 875.9 million shillings. Furthermore, total non-interest income increased 10% to 483.86 million shillings. On the other hand, total interest expenses reduced 9.1% to 581.2 million shillings. This helped turn around Consolidated Bank performance to a net profit of 80.24 million shillings. Customer deposits increased 4% to 12.3 billion shillings, helping push up the lender's total assets by 22% to 19.3 billion shillings. Sylvia Gatti reporting for Lunchtime News.
The Mayor of London has cautiously welcomed reports that he is to impose a tourist levy on visitors staying overnight in the capital. Chancellor Rachel Reeves is expected to give Sir Sadiq Khan and other civic chiefs the authority to do so through the English Devolution and Community Empowerment Bill, which is currently going through Parliament. Here are the details of this and other stories making headlines across the globe.
Sir Sadiq Khan has been vocal in calling for such powers to be devolved, with estimates suggesting a tourist tax in London could raise up to £240 million a year. Currently, England is the only country among the world's 7 largest so-called advanced economies where national government prevents local authorities or mayors from implementing tourist levies. Scotland and Wales have both recently introduced different types of taxes on overnight visitors, with local authorities in the former able to set their own levy as a percentage rate of the daily bill for accommodation. From 2026, Welsh authorities will be able to collect £1.30 per night from visitors, and in 2024, London saw 89 million overnight stays. Meanwhile, multiple international airlines from countries such as Brazil, Colombia, Chile and Portugal have suspended their flights to and from Venezuela. The suspension came after the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration warned major airlines of a potentially hazardous situation when flying over Venezuela and urged them to exercise caution. U.S. officials say the United States is prepared to launch a new round of actions related to Venezuela in the coming days. In response, Venezuelan Defense Minister says action by the U.S. poses an enormous challenge to the peace and security of the Caribbean region. Finally, Jordan's tourism sector is recovering following the first phase Gaza ceasefire in October, with bookings surging at key destinations such as Wadi Rum, Petra and the Dead Sea after 2 years of conflict-induced decline. As the peak season approaches from late December to early January, Jordan is hoping to reverse the severe downturn caused by 2 years of regional conflict. Known as the Valley of the Moon for its Mars-like red desert landscape, Wadi Rum was once a magnet for international filmmakers and travelers. But as regional tensions escalated, the flow of visitors dried up, and local tourism operators face their harshest winter yet.
Time for your sporting action, and the national under-17 team Junior Stars are set for a crucial clash against South Sudan this evening in their third Group A fixtures at the Under-17 Africa Cup of Nations CECAFA qualifiers at the Abebe Akila Stadium in Ethiopia. Head coach William Muluya's Chargers opened their campaign with a hard-fought 1-1 draw against Somalia before bouncing back to edge Rwanda 2-1 in their second outing. The results placed Kenya second in Group A on 4 points, 2 adrift of table toppers Ethiopia. The Junior Stars are pooled alongside Ethiopia, Somalia, South Sudan and Rwanda as they battle for one of the 2 coveted qualification slots for the 2026 Under-17 Africa Cup of Nations. With momentum on their side, tonight's match will be pivotal in shaping their path to the continental showpiece. And over 80 countries have confirmed participation in the 7th edition of the Roll Ball World Cup, scheduled 14th to 21st December in Dubai. Both the Kenya women's and men's teams will be defending the titles they won in the previous edition held in India. Among the teams that have confirmed their participations are India, Iran, Senegal, Benin, England, Canada, Nepal, China, Taipei, France and the Netherlands, among others.
Kushinda kikombe huwa ni rahisi, but kwenda kuitetea huwa ni ngumu. But mimi nina matumaini kwamba tunaweza kwenda kuitetea. Ingaje kuna nchi kadhaa zimefanya mazoezi kutuhusu sisi. Kama ambao tuliwapiga India, ambao ndio waanzilishi mchezo na wao ndio pia ambao tumekuwa tukishindana nao katika mafinali. Kuna nchi kama Pakistan wamekurudi tena, kuna nchi kama Denmark na tuseme kama Iran pia. Hao ndio watu ambao na Senegal pia kutoka Afrika. Hao ndio zile nchi tuweza sema maybe wataweza kutupatia challenge. Lakini mimi kulingana na timu vile nimeiona na maandalizi yao, wako sasa, hakuna timu ambayo itaweza kutuhangaisha. Maandalizi so far wamejiandaa vilivyo, kwani ukiangalia morali yao iko juu, and then ukiangalia wale makocha wamekuwa nao ni makocha wazoefu, wamewaandaa kulivyo, kwa sababu ukiangalia kama strength ambayo ndio kitu muhimu, strength yao iko juu. Tukiangalia teamwork ambao sasa wameweza kuingiana, kwa sababu ni timu imeblend ya wazoefu wale walikuwa wacheza kitambo na wapya, wachezaji wapya. Sasa wajua blend pamoja inatakana inachukua muda, na hiyo ndio makocha wametilia mkazo sana, ambao so far timu imeblend kwa sawa, ambao ukiangalia hata timu ya wanawake kwa strength yao wako sawa. Ikifikia katika mchezo kucheza yenyewe ama zile skill na tactics, so far zote wameingiana. So ile kitu tumebakisha tu sisi ni kuenda kuangalia vile tutaweza kucheza na kuweza kutetea kombe tena.
Comes from what our coach has put us through. Very intense training. Another thorough selection of the team. We are the finest of the finest in Kenya, I would say. Selected from the National League. So we are prepared for that's the confidence that we have. Yeah.
God gave us the win. So the same God who gave us the win will help us retain it. And also we believe in each other as a team. We believe in our defense, our keeper, our shooters. It is teamwork, and teamwork wins. Yeah, so we strongly believe we will bring back the cup home.
That's all the time we had for you this afternoon. This has been KBC Lunchtime News. We appreciate your company. I'm Doreen Arange. Lucy Maura has been our sign language interpreter. Good afternoon.
Ama umeona ile nini? Chama sunde ile kazi mzuri anafanya.
Kazi gani?
Anajiita balozi wa matumaini.
Anchekiaje wewe? Hali yako hali yangu manzi.
Ulikuwa unaitwa nani?
Si ati nilikuwa naitwa. Unabivaje kama mama Ngwetes na wewe ni jogo?
Brate, usinite brate. Ni nini sasa msimu unatandika msichana mtoko yani?
Unakimbia nini? Kuja hapa. Nilikuwa nafukuza umbwa.
Unachua chori aishi. Ndo. Ameishi na mke wake lakini katika hali ya wizi. Ameoa mwizi.
Nini mbaya?
Unaenda Kawosa. Unapata mtu wa Kawosa yuko.
Ongea lugha ya Kiswahili.
Niko pesa chakula.
They are public enemy number one. Pests that drive us mad. Mosquitoes, relentlessly invading our homes and communities. Even worse, these mosquitoes carry malaria, bringing death and devastation with their bite. But what if we could change the genetics of the mosquito so it no longer carries the parasite that causes malaria? VOA Tech investigates the cutting-edge research that could stop a killer.
Powering the future. Confronting the world's challenges with cutting-edge solutions, medical breakthroughs, and high-tech discoveries. These are the stories of our planet. This is VOA Tech.
My name is Crystal Dilworth. I'm a neuroscientist with a PhD from Caltech in Pasadena, California. There are a few things in life you can count on. The sun will rise in the morning. If you leave the house without something, you'll probably need it. And this doesn't look like a lot of fun. Welcome to the Vector Genetics Laboratory at the University of California at Davis. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and for the next 15 minutes, it's going to be feeding time. These scientists have volunteered to turn over their forearms, wrists, and fingers to the notorious Anopheles kalusii mosquito.
So these mosquitoes are quite avid. They're feeding on us nicely.
We should add, the mosquitoes hadn't been fed prior to the demonstration. Hungry might be an understatement.
I think when you spend 35 years working on mosquitoes, mostly in the field, you get kind of used to being bitten by them. So that wasn't much of a problem.
When you meet with Greg Lanzaro, you quickly learn this professor isn't bothered by mosquitoes, which is a good thing because he heads up the UC Davis Vector Genetics team and is a key player in the University of California Malaria Initiative. This morning, he's going to show us around one of the initiative's mosquito rearing labs at the University of California, San Diego. It quickly becomes clear this is no ordinary lab.
Hi, I'm Ashley, and I am the safety officer for the School of Biological Sciences. Again, this is an arthropod containment level 2 or an ACL2 facility. These are for arthropods of public health concern like mosquitoes. We have an iris scan here, which does scanning of their irises. So here is a quick map of the facilities. There will then be this door into the anteroom and the door into the main facility are interlocking doors. Only one of these doors can be open at a time. Well, the entire facility has a negative air pressure, which means that it's always sucking air in. The containment is really important for this facility because we don't want anything that's in there to end up out here. Our escorts will be sweeping the facilities for escapees before you enter.
Thank you. You have been identified.
The big fuss is over a tiny insect. The mosquitoes in this lab are part of cutting-edge research that changes their genetics to prevent malaria. This morning, VOA Tech has been invited to see how that process happens.
The reason they're such powerful vectors is they have a very strong preference for feeding on human blood. Of all the mammals present in the environment, these mosquitoes will pretty much try and find people.
Dr. Lanzaro is referring to the Anopheles mosquito, the main culprit behind malaria in Africa.
So there are roughly 4,000 species of mosquitoes, roughly 300 in the genus Anopheles, and of those, about 70 species globally are capable of transmitting malaria. And in Africa, there are probably about 30 or so species that can transmit human malaria, but the main one is a mosquito called Anopheles gambiae, and its sister species, a very closely related one called Anopheles kalusii. These two species are probably the best understood mosquitoes from the standpoint of the genomics. So it was one of the first complete whole genome sequences of any organism was Anopheles gambiae back in 2002. So we've got the tools. The idea that we can use modern molecular genetics to manipulate mosquitoes as a means of controlling them or controlling the pathogens they transmit is also not new. We've been talking about this for about 30 years. The idea that we're pursuing in our group is to introduce genes into the mosquito genome that block the development of the malaria parasite in the mosquito and render the mosquitoes incapable of transmitting the parasite that way.
Malaria is one of the oldest, deadliest, and most stubborn diseases on Earth. Hard to imagine, but malaria kills a child every 2 minutes.
Cerebral malaria is just an awful thing to bear witness to.
You can see it on the faces of the youngest patients and in the eyes of their parents. According to the World Health Organization, 619,000 died from the disease, and another 247 million were sickened in 2021. Sadly, most cases are in Africa, where poverty limits access to medicine.
Yeah, I mean, we have very good drugs for treating malaria. They're very effective. The problem, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, is getting those drugs to the people who need them. We've been seeing a alarming increase in the amount of malaria, and that's primarily because of resistance in the mosquitoes to the insecticides and resistance in the parasites to the drugs that are available for treating malaria. Both parasites like malaria and insects like mosquitoes can evolve resistance to the chemicals we use to treat them relatively rapidly because their generation times are short and so forth. It's a treadmill, yeah.
Once the room was cleared, it was time for us to go inside the insectary. The controlled habitat is inside UC San Diego's Bonner Hall. No matter what's happening outside, once you get inside, you're operating under mosquito-favored conditions. The glass of the habitat is tinted to keep night and day changes out. Dr. Lanzaro leads us inside. You can hear and feel the rush of the airlock. The room is smaller than you'd expect and clean. Cages are lined up in rows on steel shelves. Inside, a motherlode of mosquitoes. So many, you begin to itch. It's imagined, though, not real.
Oh, we're in a containment insectary facility for rearing mosquitoes. We're simulating the environment that these mosquitoes are naturally found in.